Good morning, everyone. This is Dave Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson, coming to this morning to talk to you about the upcoming search and also the protest for Daniel, the Justice for Daniel protest. As you guys know, on the 18th of this month, I will be having a protest that is pending on the actions of the Maricopa County. I'm still in that pending mode. I will be talking to Maricopa County today. So I will be discussing some of the ins and outs of why I am doing the protest. As you guys know, the protest just for Daniel has been over a year now. Since my son has been missing, it's been over a year now that I had all the types of efforts that should have been done on day one. So Justice for Daniel is to get justice for Daniel. I need the Maricopa County to take Daniel's case and to be able to put his case in the proper handle his case in the proper way. There need to be forensics work done. You guys know, as you guys know, on the vehicle as well as those clothing to tie in everything to make sure there was nobody else involved, no foul play. Those all things that work together. We did have, as you guys know, I do in my investigation have physical evidence that would suggest foul play. Now we need to tie in those forensics, and those are very important. Again, also I have the search for Daniel. You guys know about that. Will be coming up, as you guys see here on the screen here. That search will be coming up on the 25th of this month, and I just wanted to make sure you guys are still aware of that. You got the public search for Daniel Cornelius Robinson. About the search, there will be a public search for geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson in the Sonoran Desert of Buckeye, Arizona. The purpose of the search is to complete the areas not yet searched during the 45 weeks of search. And I did a lot of searches out there, you guys. We cover over 35,000 acres of land out there, but there's still little more to go. I need to get those things done. The key focus will be near the Hassapa River, southwest of the location where Daniel's Jeep was found. We need volunteers to do that line search, and I guess you guys, if you guys can come out, no matter where you're at, if you can make plans to be there, February the 5th, 25th, at 7 o'clock a.m. until 11:45, but that's going to be pending what we find out there and how long people really want to stay. Location off Sun Valley Parkway, West Cactus Road, Buckeye, Arizona. You guys can go to the website. That's where you'll find the link. Please help find Daniel.com. You'll find a link to all the information there that you need to sign up for the search. I'm asking you guys to sign up. As you guys know, I need those people, the people who own the land. They definitely want to have somewhat of a head count. So definitely want to make sure you guys are doing that as well. Signing up. I do have a roughly, I believe it was like 170 some people. I last checked with my team, and I'm getting close to that 200 mark. That 200 mark is very crucial to the search because I need that amount of people to make sure these areas are searched thoroughly. Because, like I said, I have a one-shot deal with the agreement that I have with the landowners, and I want to make sure I fulfill that. We have the resource things here also added to the screen here. You guys got to be aware if you come out, some of your personal needs that you need, the items. First of all, I want to go back real quick here. Yeah, you see also to make sure you read that disclaimer. That disclaimer is also on the website as well. So that disclaimer is some things that you need to know about the desert and things you know that's your responsibility as a person that's coming out to want to help and volunteer for the search. So I really appreciate that. Also, your personal needs, please bring water please bring water and water resources, meaning that if you have anything like your Camelback, gallons of water, bottles of water, things like that you need, make sure you keep yourself supplied. If you don't have those things, you left them or whatever the case may be, we will provide those. That will be at the command center. We also will be giving electrolytes out if you need those, which is our snacks and things like that. So that'll help you along while we're out there in the desert. Because this time of year is starting to warm up in the day, cool off really quickly at night. So we get there early in the morning, maybe a little cool, maybe a little brisk cold, but it heats up really quick. So make sure you prepare for that. Wear proper footwear. I'm asking everybody to wear at least boots or some hiking boots, some form of boot. And the reason why is because, you know, if you're using those, we have cat tie out there. And if you was to be, for instance, walking around with sneakers on, there's a possibility one of those you might end up not watching it step on a cactus plant, and it may come through your shoe, the side walls of your shoe, and that's not going to feel good. So make sure you're protected that way. Also, definitely bring your FRS radios if you guys have those. Those FR radios is something we use. We monitor Channel 8, but we use them out there to communicate with the command center, communicate with each other. Communication is very key. When I was in the war, when I was in the military, we could not do anything. We coordinate with the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, all the branches coordinate together on the ground. Army, we on the ground. We have to know where each position is. So communication is very key. Definitely want to know. They'll have to have those radios out there. So, but if you don't have those, we may have some at command center. I'm have a limited amount that I can borrow out to people who may need them. Also wear long sleeve shirts if you can, long pants. Again, for the same reasons of the desert. The desert have a lot of brush out there, bushes that may scratch you and things like that. Your legs. It may be a little chilly out there. So again, it also protects you from the sun. So you guys, believe it or not, clothing is good for the sun, even in hot weather like that. So if you got long sleeves, long pants, that's probably a lot better for you. Eye protection is going to be sunny out there, I'm sure. Make sure you guys have that suntan lotion if you need those. But make sure you, it's going to be warming up. Make sure you wear layers, things that you can just pull off as the temperature change. Emergency contact information and health information that may need to be known. If you guys have any medical issues or anything that we need to know, I will have a form there at the command center, and you'll be able to let us know that, just so we can get in touch with your next of kin or anybody, anything that happened, emergency situation. We'd like to have that information so we can notify the proper persons that you would like us to contact. Also, contact information will be at the command center. Like I said, we monitor Channel 8, the FRS radios, communications by cell phone. You see the phone number there. That's my cell phone. So you guys, while you're on the ground, you definitely can contact me. I have AT&T. I've been out there for a while, and I noticed that AT&T do not lose service out there in the desert. So just wanted to iterate that if you guys you can't get us on the radio, you can also use that cell phone number to contact. Also, my information down on the bottom. And also, I just wanted to put this up real quick, you guys. If you follow me on uh, the share screen here, I'm going to put on the website, pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, and you can go to the website where you can definitely get the same information here. I'm just kind of large screening. You come on the website to try to sign up for the search. Of course, you come to the main screen. You also can go to volunteer the search tab up here at the top. It's easier if you go down and definitely. Well, I'm gonna put the information here first. February 25th, 2023 is a search, and this is all hands on deck. And this is all the information concerning the search. And I just wanted to make sure you guys see that this is all the information that you would need for that search. And this is the letter that I have for the law enforcement, whether it's Buckeye, Tempe, Maricopa County, Phoenix. Those are the major ones that I sent out these letters to. I sent it out generally to everybody, all the law enforcement agencies out there, but I just specifically pointed out these law enforcement agencies in Arizona because they had some form of fashion touching my son's case. I want to make sure they're out there. I'm looking for those support. I'm not even at this point, you guys, after over a year, I'm not even relying on law enforcement to show out there. So I'm doing everything I can logistically to make sure the search is very successful. But it would help out if law enforcement lend a hand. If you help out, they bring those resources I'm asking for because I need it. I don't have money growing on the tree. You guys been doing everything you can to donate. You guys have been helping and everywhere for 40 some weeks, over 45 weeks searching as well as other efforts I have been doing. You guys have been covering with those donations. So I really appreciate it. That's active donations, things I've been utilizing for over a year now. And also like right now, currently just having the search here. I definitely would like the resources from law enforcement. So this is an letter invite. You guys can go in there, read it if you'd like to. And also if you can, maybe copy paste it or something and send it out. But also, yeah, just for reference, you also on the front page here, pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, there is the map here. So if you guys want to, I'm not going to click here because I don't want y'all to get my location, but you click here and I want to show you my location, I'm going to say, but you click there and it will, wherever you're at, it will direct you to this location here, Sun Valley Parkway, West Cactus Road areas where we'll be searching. You guys can see the map here, but directions to be here. And also, if you want to, you can go up here to sign up. Like I said, you can go to events, which I would recommend going to the events. But if you go to please volunteer the search tab, I'm going to show you, for example, go to volunteer the search tab, and it will still take you down to the main volunteer search page. I fix it this way so you guys can, let me turn this music off. But I fix it this way so you guys can still get on the Eventbrite, because that's the whole point. You just click here, take you to Eventbrite so you can sign up for the search. Events, just hit the events tab, it will take you to Eventbrite, and you'll see the information here. This is our events tab, saying where we have the kind of like visual to you name it. All our events will be here, but this time I'm using this event page because, like I said, the owners want us to have a head count of how many people will be coming out to the search, a rough head count, and this is the easiest way to do it. And the way to go look at it, you see the events here. You click on the event that you're looking for. That will pull up the search for Daniel, public search for Daniel, geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. And you guys got the information again, the location, the date and time. You have the location here, and also this is where you reserve your spot. This button is very important, so I can have a number. So again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to me on this, and I will be talking about it a little bit more. But I am have a guest coming up. You guys know he's a native. He's a native here in Arizona, and also I want to have him on, and he will be talking to you guys about his nonprofit as well. But anyway, his organization is Native Search Solutions, and his name is Mr. Pooley, and he will be on shortly. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and forward. We're here with you guys, and let's go ahead and start this Q&A. So thank you so much for joining in and listening. Thank you.
When the lights and camera turn off, I will be here. When the interest and conversation fade, I will be here. When there's no one around, a father will do anything it takes to be there for his son, to protect his family.
Daniel Robinson went missing 4 months ago. This is the last photo his family has of him. He's a 24-year-old geologist, last seen leaving his job site in Buckeye, Arizona.
As the Gabby Petito homicide case garners national attention, another young person has been missing for nearly 3 months, and his family is desperate to find him. 24-year-old Daniel Robinson, a geologist, was last seen on the morning of June 23rd, leaving his work site in the desert of Buckeye, Arizona.
David Robinson had only one thought on his mind as he drove the nearly 1,800 miles from his South Carolina home to Phoenix.
I had to find my son.
3 out of 4 Native women will be physically assaulted. The advocates believe that crimes against Native women are underreported and underestimated. 88% of the crimes committed against Indigenous women are interracial. 1 in 3 Native American women will be raped in their lifetime. The second leading cause of death for Indigenous girls ages 1 to 4 is murder.
Rarely do we find laws and policies that protect trans community.
Violence accounts for 75% of deaths in Indigenous youth, ages 12 to 20.
We pray for and honor these relatives.
Ashlyn Mike from the Diné tribe, she was 9 years old and she was murdered. Carol Swan from the Sicangu Lakota Oyate, the Rosebud Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. She is my auntie, she was murdered.
Phoebe Ortegon and her baby boy. She was killed by medical neglect. She's Eastern Shoshone, Northern Arapaho. She is my sister.
Stacy Hill, 17 years old, from the Red Lake Band of Ojibwe Indians, located in northern Minnesota. She was murdered.
Fred Martinez, Navajo, 16 years old, transgendered, murdered.
Jacinta Eagle Deer, Brule Lakota, killed in a hit and run in 1975.
In 2019, the Senate officially designated May 5th as National Day of Awareness for MMIW. It honors the birthday of Hannah Harris, a Northern Cheyenne woman who went missing in Montana and was determined to have been raped and murdered.
Okay, it'll help if I took the mute off. Thank you guys for coming in this morning. Dave Robinson, I'm the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. Just wanted to give you a little information about the missing Indigenous women in this country. It's been very big problem in this country, just as well as many other missing persons in this country. Here it is 2023, and we're still having this problem. So I just wanted to make sure you guys been aware of that, as well as some of the facts that comes along with that. I will be having a guest on today as well. His efforts is to combat some of those issues that we're having in this country when it comes to missing persons, especially those of indigenous Native Americans. The problems that we have is on that community as well as communities all across this country. So again, I'm coming to talk about some of those details. According to the U.S. Department of Interior, Native Affairs. I want to put this information up here on the screen so you guys can see that as well. Native Americans and Alaskan Native Americans rates of murder, rape, and violent crimes are all higher than the national averages. When looking at missing and murdered cases, data shows that Native American and Alaskan Native women make up a significant portion of missing and murdered individuals. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, the murder rate is 10 times higher than the national average for women living on reservations and the third leading cause of death of Native women. Additionally, this group were significantly more likely to experience rape in their lifetime compared to other women. According to the 2008 report titled Violence Against American Indian, and Alaskan Native Women, the criminal justice response, what is known national rates of homicide victimizations against American Indian and Alaska Native women are second to those of their African American counterparts. Like other women, American Indian and Alaska Native women are more likely to be killed by their intimate partners compared to other offenders. The NIJ study also found that American Indian and Native men too have high victimization rates. More than 4 in 5 American Indians and Alaskan Native men, 81.6% of them, have experienced violence in their lifetime. And overall, more than 1.4 million American Indian and Alaskan Native men have experienced violence in their lifetime. Human trafficking in September 2017, you guys know the Government Accountability Office released a report titled Human Trafficking Investigations in Indian Country or Involving Native American, and an action needed to better report on victims served. GAO surveyed tribal and major city law enforcement agencies and victim services providers on human trafficking investigation, victim services, and barriers to identify and serving Native victims. Okay, if you go down a little bit further, you guys, there's more information here as well. I just want to skip down to this part here. I'm going to go to the next page so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. According to the National Crime and Information Center in 2016, there are 5,712 reports of missing American Indian and Alaskan Native women and girls throughout the U.S. Department of Justice Federal Missing Persons database, but the National Information Clearinghouse and Resource Centers for Missing, Unidentified, and Unclaimed Persons cases across the United States, called the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, NAMUS, as guys know, only logged 116 of those cases. And that, that's, so in other words, is underreported. While it's estimated that the rates of violence on reservations can be up to 10 times higher than the national average, research is missing on rates of murder, violence among American Indian and Alaskan Native women living in urban areas. And so, guys, if you want to read more information on that as well, you go to the website. I want to be able to share some of those details with you guys so you can know that that's a big problem that we have here in this country as well. A lot of things that we just don't hear about. Those things are not reported constantly in the news cycle. So we do miss a lot of that. So I just want to make sure you guys get some of the gist of that. You can read this. You can go to the website as well, where I did get this information from. And just want to go ahead and share some of those information with you as well. I just want to share one more thing here. The gentleman that we'll be having on right now, coming on, he's in the back room now, waiting to come on and join me in on this Q&A. His name is Mr. Pooley. He will be talking about his organization, Native Search Solutions, and what he does. And also just wanted to kind of put out some information about him ahead of bringing him on right now. He's in the back right now waiting to come on. So I just want to be able to share that with you as well. But anyway, I just want to put this information up here. This is some of his mission statement, you guys. If you guys could check out the website as well. I will put the information here on the screen. Let's see if I got it right here on the bottom of the screen. You see it shown on the bottom of the screen. You go to the website and you can get some more information about what he does and his organization. Mission statement: to bring hope, empowerment, and resolution to families of the missing by using new and existing technologies and locating their loved ones. Mission statement as well: strengthening Native communities and giving them opportunities to engage in searching for their missing. Develop and implement a training program for tribal law enforcement to utilize new and existing technologies that will enhance their current and future missing persons investigations. Okay, the core principle, of course, is gratitude, compassion, truth, and courage. Those are key words, and those are very important words as well. Vision: to have Native people build for themselves a safe and secure environment for their families and surrounding communities. So this is some good mission statements, you guys, here, and some good information that, just like I said, you can find on the website. Also, I have here is Mr. Pooley. His name is Mr. Mark Pooley. He's the founder of Native Search Solutions, and wonderful man, a friend of mine. I met him in Arizona, in Arizona. And since then, he's been a very good partner, a person that I can get advice from as well. Is very knowledgeable in what he does. You know, he has a lot of years of experience on different levels. And there's some of the things I want to read here. Mr. Pooley, he's a Navajo Hopi and has been in law enforcement since 2001 and is passionate about helping his Native people both on and off the reservation. He recently retired from the Tempe Police Department in Arizona as a sergeant in the Professional Standards Unit after being diagnosed with cancer. During his tenure as a police officer, he held several detective positions in robbery, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and homicide. As a supervisor, he was assigned to ancillary positions: crisis negotiator, team, and incident response team. Prior to his police career, Mr. Pooley was a tribal prosecutor on the Salt River, Pima County, Maricopa Indian community, where he dealt with criminal and civil issues within the tribal court. Mr. Pooley was the criminal justice coordinator for the Native American Fatherhood and Fathers Association, where he was in the process of establishing programs to assist individuals who are incarcerated and or preparing for re-entry back into their Native community. During his time, he learned more about the murdered and missing Indigenous persons movement, and wanted to be a part of the solution to finding his people. He learned about organizations with cutting-edge investigation tools to assist in locating these missing individuals, and is now bringing these technologies to tribal law enforcement. Mr. Pooley is still fighting cancer, and it contributes his diagnosis as a blessing. He learned that life is too short, and one needs to work towards a vision that would bring safety and joy back to all humankind. He started Native Search Solution to be part of that vision, and we'll start with finding our Native people and bring safety and joy back to their lives. Mark graduated with his bachelor's degree in political science from Brigham Young University. Excuse me, you guys, and master's degree in education, counseling, human relations from North Arizona University. So he's done a lot for the community. He's doing a lot for the community now. He's done a lot for me since I've been in Arizona. So I'm really proud to introduce my friend. Like I said, he's a friend of mine as well as a good leader in his community as well. Just wanted to bring him on. He's not just a person. He's also, like I said, my friend, a very great man. His name is Mr. Pooley. I would like to bring him on right now. Thank you, sir, for being on this morning. It's good, definitely good to see you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. It's pretty early here in Arizona. I know you're a little bit more mid back east, so
Right.
but I'm here ready to go.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for coming in. Also, again, this is of course the Q&A for I do a lot here on this channel for my son, as you know, to bring awareness to his case, to get out information about his case, as well as the community in large have questions about Daniel's case. I like to put out some of those narratives and control that type narrative, because sometimes false information can get out and things like that. So I want to make sure I can stay on top of those things. But definitely grateful to have you here. I know exactly what you do. I would like everybody to hear a little bit more about that. So feel free to talk about what you do.
Okay, thank you, David. Guys,
Yes,
I'm really honored to be on David's podcast. I met him a short time after his son went missing, and that relationship has just grown. And honestly, and you guys know this because you guys are listening to David's podcast, but he's just a great man, and he has a great vision to help not just find his son, but to help other people. And so I'm honored to be here to talk with you and share with what I do. Just like David said, what really got me into this work is my cancer. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I'll tell you this: is everyone in your life, or everyone has a life that sometimes has hardship, and there's two things that you could do. You could either and again, let me preface this: us as Native Americans, we believe in the Creator, God, and prayer, and that's really what gets our people through these horrible things that have happened to us historically, and that's what grounds us. And one of the things that I tell people is when I got my cancer diagnosis. In fact, I just went to the oncologist just 2 days ago, and my cancer's still there. It's very low, but we're keeping it where it's at, and so I'm very grateful. But I tell people, if I never got my cancer, I promise you, I would not be doing this work. It's because the cancer hurt my body so bad that I couldn't be a police officer anymore. And when you come close to death, you really look at you evaluate your life and say, what did I do everything I could have done? And I was on a good path. I'm a good father. I'm a good husband. I was a good officer. I just did everything right. I followed the rules, and I got cancer. And then and not only did I get cancer, but the cancer actually broke my back in 10 places where I couldn't walk. I couldn't shower myself. I couldn't even dress myself. I was an invalid. My wife had to do everything for me. And again, that's almost 5 years ago. Now I'm back to walking. I'm back to, I'll never be the same. But to show you how I do this is I walk over 5 miles every day, Monday through Saturday, just to rebuild my body. I still can't run. I used to be an avid runner, but I share this with you because you always have to look at your pain and suffering, and don't let that experience go to waste. And there was a time when I was talking where I couldn't move to the Creator. I said, what do you want me to do? I didn't make a promise with him. I just asked him, what do you want me to do? And what happened is, as I started to travel Indian country with my father has an organization called Native American Fatherhood and Families Association. And what he does, he's developed a curriculum to help bring the father and mother back into the home. A lot of our Native children, they don't have a strong family unit. They just don't. A lot of our children are in foster care or group homes, or they live with family members that are second, third cousins. And it's really hard. And so with that, I started to travel Indian country. I retired from the police department. I was actually in Nebraska and North Dakota in 2 separate tribes. And I'm still doing chemo. I had a cane in my hand and I was very weak. And during the breaks, family members would come up to me and they would say, Mr. Pooley, we know that you used to be a detective. Can you help find my auntie, my brother, my sister? And physically, I couldn't do it. Not only physically, but I was in a completely different state. And I had to say no. I had all the knowledge and experience in my mind, but I just physically couldn't do it. And that really bugged me. And so when I got back to the Phoenix area, we call it here in Arizona, the Valley, I started to look and see what our Native people, what they're doing, and also what they're not doing. And then I looked and said, what are the non-natives doing to look for their missing people? And what they're using is they're using technology. They're using all different type of things which our Native people are not doing. And so I came across a company called Biometrica. Now, Biometrica, they're a for-profit, non-native organization, and they're not in the business of looking for missing people, but they have a database that is basically, it's a HR, a human resource tool or resource to keep their employees crime-free. And they have a database that has over 16 million images of people that have been booked or incarcerated throughout the United States. And they also use facial recognition. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole details of how it works, but that's what their business is. Once I learned how their system works, I asked them, and they're my friends now, I said, can I use your database to see if we could find my missing people? And they said, we never thought about it, but let's try it. And so they, as an in-kind donation, they let me use this. I started a nonprofit called Native Search Solutions, and not knowing if this is going to work, but this has set us apart from other organizations. And I don't want to knock my MMIW, which the acronym is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. That I say MMIP for all people, for men, women, and children. And I don't want to knock these organizations because they're doing an awesome job. And they use social media to get the things out. But as I looked, we need to do more. And so I started this organization, and I started to reach out to families of missing people. In fact, that's how I met Mr. Robinson. And what we do is we get the written consent of the families. And then I ask for 3 to 4 photographs of their loved one. And then I have my analyst put those images in after the consent and then start searching the database. Now I'm going to back up a little bit. When someone goes missing, you make a police report. And one of the things that the police do is they take the information and then they put the missing person into a database called NCIC. The acronym stands for the National Crime Information Center. It's run by the FBI. All missing people get put in this database. So if I go missing in Arizona and my wife calls and reports me missing, and I'm still alive and I get contacted in New York City, and an officer runs my name and date of birth, I will come back immediately to that officer as a missing person. He'll pull me aside and say, Mr. Pooley, are you okay? And I would say, yes, I'm okay. He goes, do you know that you're reported missing out of Arizona? And then they make a correspondence between New York and Arizona to take me out of the system if I'm okay, or help me get back to my loved one. And that's how the system works. And it does work. When I was in homicide missing persons, I found a lot of my people through that system. Now, the sad thing is, in our Native communities, a lot of our tribal law enforcement, they don't have access to that database. And so you could report them missing, but nothing's looking for them. And so now you have NCIC working if they're entered in. And then now you have our system, which is called eMotive EI by Biometrica. And now you have 2 systems working. One thing I learned in law enforcement is you have to have 2 things. You have to have resources and technology to any investigation. The more resources you put into the system, the more likelihood that you're going to find them or find what happened to them. And that's what we're finding. And so, you know, one of the things that I tell people, our database is not the silver bullet that's going to fix the problem. It doesn't kill the werewolf, but it's a resource. And so a lot of families are excited. In fact, I just talked to a family last night. We're putting their son and brother in this morning, and they're really excited. They said, thank you, Mr. Pooley, for doing this. And so that's one of the things that I believe is you have to have technologies. Now, since we've only been around for about almost 2 years as an organization, I have talked to 56 families in 7 different states, a family in Canada, and a family in Italy. So we don't just look for Native people, we look for all people. And so far to date, we have found 14 people in that time. Now all 14 people were not found with our database, but we have found 2 people with our database, and is great. Now I'm going to tell you a little backstory, David. That this is okay. Hopefully, I'm not talking too long.
No, it's your floor. I like that. Go ahead, keep going.
Okay,
yes,
thank
sir.
you. So when I first started, not knowing if this was going to work, there was a woman that went missing 29 years ago, and her sister came to me. And in fact, her sister, the sister who went missing, her name is Guadalupe. She went missing 29 years ago. Now, this is what I found out through my investigation. 29 years ago, both mother and father reported their daughter missing. The officer came out and knew who this woman was and knew that she had addiction problems. And the officer said, I know your daughter, but I'm not going to enter her into NCIC. And so he didn't. Families never knew what happened to her. Well, I learned through the investigation 2 years later, 27 years ago, the sister she died of an overdose, and she actually died in the hospital. Now, when someone dies, the family is always notified, usually by the hospital or by law enforcement. Next of kin are notified. The detective that came out from this agency, same agency, they document it because it's reported, but they never notify next of kin. So for 29 years, they never knew what happened to their daughter and sister. Now, both parents are now deceased, never knowing what happened. So the sister came to me when I first started, and she said, "Mr. Pooley, can you help look for my sister?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then I learned how long she had been missing, and I started to doubt myself. I said, "That's a long time." And I told the sister, I says, "I don't want to give you a false hope." And I was honest with her. I said, "This is brand new. I don't even know if it works." I said, I don't want to give you a false hope that we're going to find her." And this is what she said. She said, "Mr. Pooley, you're not giving me a false hope. You're giving me a new hope. You're the first person in 29 years that will be looking for my sister." And so we did. We only had one photograph. And this is the sad thing. This family only had one photograph of their daughter and sister. Only one. Only one exists. But it was a good picture. We put it in. And we got 6 hits. Now, I call them false positives. They were not her. And the sister, there's one that actually looked very, very close. And in fact, I had to have the sister look. I said, is this your sister? She said, "No, that's not her." But she got excited because she saw that the system was working. Well, or one of the systems were working. And so anyways, I did my own networking and reaching out to different agencies, and then I learned about the backstory, and then I spoke to the sister, and I said, "Hey, I need to talk to you in person." She knew why, and so we met up, and we laughed and cried, but she was grateful, and she says, "Mr. Pooley, thank you for finding my sister. It's not what I wanted, but thank you." And so I don't say closure, I say a resolution, because still the family, they need to grieve now. And so, but they have a resolution of what happened to their sister. And so I share that with you. You know, a lot of times when people start an organization or they start something, they said, "If I could just have this one thing, or this, it's all worth it." And this sister or this woman is Guadalupe. She's that person. Now, we've had much more success from that, and so it keeps me going. But just as many of you know who are in the trenches, David, I know David's in there. We get frustrated. It's a very hard thing to do this day in and day out, and not knowing, hey, am I making a difference? Everyone that's listening, if you're part of this, you are making a difference. And one day you will have a Guadalupe story like me, or you may have had already many. But it's a beautiful thing when we come together and do this. Now I'm going to go off track a little bit, and this is sort of talking about my organization, what I have learned in this process. Because when you start an organization, it continually evolves into something bigger than you. And one of those things that I have learned. Now, I love and grateful for that database, but like I said, it's not the answer. What I have found is that information is very powerful. Like I said earlier, our Native people are being underreported. In fact, Mr. Robinson, you gave a great sort of segue into this of telling how many people are missing. Over 5,000 people are missing, Natives. And only 100 and something are actually being reported. Now for this one, for nameless. Well, one of the things that I've learned is our Native people, we don't trust the government. We don't trust law enforcement. We don't trust non-natives, and even some Native organizations we don't trust. There are 574 federally recognized tribes in the United States and in Alaska. And people think that we're all the same, and we're not. We have a historical past with one another as well. But this is what I have learned with our Native people. They do not know how to get a report sometimes with the police department. When I first started this, I actually learned some of the negative, I would say, and I don't have the numbers, but I would say well over 90% of our Native people that report their loved ones missing have a negative and sometimes confrontational encounters with law enforcement. And so when I meet with people in person or on Zoom, I tell them, I say, grab a pen and paper, because I'm going to tell you 5 things that you need to do. And my audience here, David's audience, if you want to write these 5 things down if someone goes missing. The number one thing, okay, the number one thing that you need to do is you need to make a police report. And you need to share as much information with that officer. It's usually a uniformed police officer that will take the initial report. Make sure you get his name and badge number and the report number that he's going to take. And during this time, there's going to be a lot of emotion. Okay, just do it the best you can. And so that's what you do. After you get that information, then the second thing is you ask that officer, can you make sure that you put my loved one into the National Criminal Information Center, NCIC? And I tell them, I make sure you write this down, because when you say those words, the officer automatically knows that you know, even though you may not know the full thing, how it goes, he knows that he needs to do that. And it doesn't take long. It takes less than 5 minutes. That's number 2. Number 3, I tell them, this is my Native people now, because we have a lot of MMIP, MMIW advocacy groups. I said, because normally they're in different states. I said, you're not here in Arizona. You need to reach out to a MMIW, MMIP advocacy group in your area. And you need to use their platform in social media like Facebook to get photographs of your missing person. That's number 3. Number 4 is I tell the families, you need to start looking yourself. And that, guys, really, that's a big shock for them. They think when they report to the police that the police are continually searching, and I promise you, they are not. Okay, so you have to start looking for yourself. Now, I preface this: when you go missing, or when you go looking for someone that's missing, never go by yourself. Always take at least 2, preferably 3 people, or there's 3 of you, 2 or 3 of you. Never go by yourself. Now, I tell people, you know your family member better than anyone else. Now, we are, as individuals, we're creatures of habit. So I tell them, I say, for example, if I go missing and my family goes look for me, most likely one of the places that you should go look for me is Whataburger. Here in Arizona, we have this hamburger place. I love this place. Maybe, and most likely, if I am hungry, I'm going to go to this place. So go start looking. And it's crazy because people start finding them. And then the last one, and this is where we will help you. If you want us to put your loved one in our database, then you'll have to sign a written consent and give us 3 to 4 photographs. If you just have one, then you only have one. And then our analyst will put them in. And then I have other connections where after I hear your story and sort of what it is, we try to include other tech organizations that use technology that are different than mine. Not everyone can use these particular ones because they're usually for specific demographics or age groups. And so those are the 5 things. Now, when we find people in law enforcement after an investigation, you do something called the debriefing. Like, hey, what could we have done different, or what did we do good? And so I try to do a debriefing with a lot of these families, and in fact, almost all of them we do. And I found that, and I asked them, I said, what did you like about Native Search Solutions and helping you find your loved one? And this is the irony that I never thought would happen. 3 separate families, they said, Mr. Pooley, what you did was you gave us permission to go look for our loved one. And it wasn't until the 3rd time someone said that, I had that aha moment, a light bulb came on. I'm like, wow, guys, you guys are the answer. You're the ones that are going to look for your loved one. I tell people this, my Native people, and I sort of get after them. I said, if you think the government and law enforcement are going to find your missing person, you're fooling yourself. They have too much, and they don't have the resources or the staff or the resources or the technology to do it on their own. They also need help. And this is where the family needs to start looking. Now, this is what I have learned. And again, it's human nature. I get a lot of my Native families, they'll come to me and they'll pull me aside. They say, Mr. Poole, I don't get it. Half of my family is looking, and the other half, they don't want to be anything part of it. And I said, well, don't be offended by that. Everyone grieves different. The ones that are looking, cling to them and keep looking. The ones that are not looking, don't be mad at them, because you don't want to make this split the family. But give them their space, and hopefully through time they'll look as well. And so those are the things that I tell our families to do. Now, one of the things that I have learned, and you may find this in these special government programs or studies and all that kind of stuff. This is just me, boots on the ground, working with families throughout Indian country. I have come to find there's 5 reasons why people go missing on Indian country or Native American. The number 1 reason is addiction. Drugs and alcohol are one of our biggest problems why people go missing. Number 2 is domestic violence. Mr. Robinson read about violence against women and even our men. It's real. I lived on the reservation when I was younger. It's a hard life. So number 2 is domestic violence. Number 3 are endangered runaways. Remember, I said that a lot of our children are not being raised in our homes. They're being raised in group homes and foster care. And even they want to go back home. Even if it's not a good place, they don't want to be away from home. So they run away. Number 4 is trafficking. Now, one of the things that I heard early on about why there's so much crime and violence on our Indian reservations is because we don't have enough cops. And we really don't. Someone gave this analogy. How do you keep your house from being broken into, a crime occurring at your house? And this person said the answer is you have to have a bigger lock than your neighbor. That's the answer. The thing is, though, on our reservations, we don't have a lock. And so crime and organized crime, or just criminals in general, they come onto our reservation because they know the laws, I hate to say it, but for non-natives, it actually protects them. So that's number 4, is trafficking. And number 5, the last one, has to do with mental health. Has to do with someone that has dementia or Alzheimer's, or they may be autistic, or they may just have a mental breakdown, and then they go wandering in the hot or the cold, and then the elements or the environment takes them, and they get disoriented, and we can't find them. So those are the 5 reasons that I have found of why people go missing. And so I want to go back to my organization, is any kind of technology is always good. One of the things that I think are up and coming of people that have been missing for many years is looking and using DNA to help identify some remains that are found. And that's something that I'm hoping to bring forward to our Native people someday. But that's just another technology. But that's pretty much what I do. And again, my information is down below. If you do go to our website, just go to the comment page or the outreach page, put your information, and then send it to me, just press send. I'll actually get an email, and I promise you I will respond to you within a day or two. That way you have my personal contact information. But again, this is for anyone. You don't necessarily have to be Native American. David Robinson's son, Daniel, we put him in our database. And so my thing is, I'll share this. I'll share one more story, if that's okay, David. And then you guys could ask questions, hopefully. One of the families that we were helping, her brother went missing. He had been missing for 2 weeks. Now, this woman, this Native woman, she's in her mid-60s, and her younger brother was in his mid to late 50s, and he had addiction to alcohol. But every day he would live on the same property as his parents. Every day at 11 o'clock, he went to his parents' house and used their microwave to heat up his food. Every day, 11 o'clock, like clockwork. Well, one day he stopped showing up, and he stopped coming for 2 weeks. They would knock on his door, nothing. And his sister finally called me. And she said, Mr. Pooley, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, have you contacted the police? She goes, I don't know what to say. I don't even know how it is. And so she told me the story, and then I had her write down those 5 things. And she did that. Well, this was the cool part. That day, actually the next day, because she had looked that day, the second day she went looking again, certain places where she thinks her brother would be. Now, one thing she didn't do, she didn't take someone with her. She went by herself, which I sort of got after. I said, don't ever do that. But as she's walking, or as she's driving down the street, now you have to remember, it's snowing. She sees a man about 200 yards away, about 2 football fields away, this man walking. And she goes, just the way he walks, she goes, that's my brother. And she found him. Now, he was intoxicated. He was wearing boots, a pair of Levi's, a t-shirt with short sleeves, and a beanie. That's it. He was freezing. Now, you got to remember, he's been missing for 2 weeks. So she puts him in the car, sits him down, and turns the heater on really high, and she immediately calls me up. Now, I wasn't able to get the call, so she left a beautiful message. And she thanked me. That she goes, I found my brother. Now, this is the thing. When I called her back, I said, now previously, this is what she told me. She goes, Mr. Pooley, I have this yucky feeling right at the top pit of my chest and my stomach that I can't get rid of. She said that to me at the very beginning when she reported her son missing, or brother missing. I asked her, I said, how did you feel when you first saw him? She goes, Mr. Pooley, that feeling went away immediately. It was gone. And she was very grateful. And so once I learned that, that's one of my things that I want. Now I'm going to share something personal, and then we could open it up for questions. Remember, I told you that us Native Americans, we're grounded on prayer and the Creator God. Now, I don't know if most organizations do this, but I hope they start if they're not doing it. Every time I talk to a family member, after I hang up with them, I always say a prayer. Every single time. And the amazing thing is, a lot of times we don't have time to put people in our database because they start finding them. And that has happened multiple times. And so I'm telling you, my friends out there, please include the Creator in looking for your loved ones. And when you do this, you will get closer to finding them, but also you'll meet other people that you'll be able to help in this journey of looking for our missing people here in Indian country, but also in our non-native communities. But that's pretty much what I have. David, I know we spoke and you know me. Is there something that you want me to share that maybe I did not touch on, that we've talked about previous, that you maybe want me to elaborate, or just go on to questions?
Well, I definitely want to make a comment. Yes, as a father, looking for my son, you know, of course, I was in disarray trying to get in some of those points that you said. You know, hey, try to find people to go with me to search. For instance, trying to find ways to search and find organizations like yourself to help. And one of the things when you were adding me to that, Daniel, to that the facial recognition system. I was really relieved as a parent. I was really relieved that, like you said, it gave me a new hope in the sense to say, hey, look, my son is being searched in this area as well. I tell people all the time, at the moment, I was searching out in the desert, going by one story. I was also trying to engage with law enforcement, also trying to make sure I'm putting out the information. But at the same time, with the investigation part of it, I do know the investigator. I had hired an investigator. But I tend to often talk about yourself as well. A lot of people don't know you're also an investigator yourself.
Yeah.
And so you was always there in the background as well. And also the point of you putting Daniel there with your organization, I was really, really relieved to know that he's out there, and maybe his face would come up somewhere. If he's out there somewhere, he would be found that way. So I was really tell you, thank you. I just wanted to put that out.
Thank you. Hey, David, real quick, one of the things, just to let you guys know, our service is free. It costs nothing. And let me tell you something. If an organization makes you pay, now private investigator, that's different. But if an organization makes you pay, please do not do it. Right. There are plenty of organizations, nonprofits, who don't charge anything. And that's a burden that should not be placed on any family. The burden of the missing person is due enough. And so, I will say this, one of the things I have found with our organization is the only thing I ask families that I work with, I said, if you had a good experience with our organization, please share it with other families that have missing people. When I first started, the first 6 months, it was hard trying to reach out to the people. But what I learned is in Indian country, the word just spreads. And so probably for the past little over a year, the families come to me now. And that's what we do. And I always ask them, how did you find out about me? And they said, oh, from another family member, or from, this other thing. And so, if you have anyone or know anyone that's missing, please, if you like what I shared, you sort of get to see my demeanor, how I am. I'm pretty much an open book. And hopefully you'll share my information with that person, and we'll help them the best we can.
Yes, and you guys see the information on the bottom of the screen. Please visit Native Search Solutions, and that's the address there. Shauna, she put that also into the chat, so you guys that's on YouTube, you definitely have the information as well. I will share it here as well. Shauna did put that out here, so those who are not on YouTube can see this on the screen. That's also scrolling on the bottom there, so you guys can go to the website and learn more about Mr. Pooley, what he does, and also contact him. The contact information there. He have a contact section there. You guys click on that, and it will take you to the form that you need to get in contact with his organization. Also, I want to put up here what Shauna have here when asking the question. You guys, I know you have questions. I've seen a couple come up. You guys from Mr. Pooley. When asking the question, put the capital letter Q there first, the word question or a question mark for Mr. Pooley prior to your question. That way, as you guys know, when I come down, I can actually find those questions. So if you have those questions, shoot away. Mr. Pooley here. I don't know how much time you have, Mr. Pooley, but thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And so some may have some questions here. I want to put this first one up from PM Channel. Thank you again, PM Channel, for being here. Of course, you're always supporting the Daniel Robinson. Please help find Daniel YouTube channel. You always hear every Q&A, so I really appreciate you being here. Question from Mr. Pooley. with the distrust some Native Americans have with law enforcement, is it difficult for them to initiate a missing person report for their loved ones with trust? With trust, something will be done.
Yeah, you know what? To elaborate a little bit on that, the answer is yes. The trust is not there, and I come from law enforcement, so I don't want to bash my brothers and sisters in blue, but they need to do a better job, and that's the honest truth. And when I talk to law enforcement, I tell them, put yourself in their shoes. What would you do? And you know that I won't go into the details, but there was a father. He actually was a former law enforcement, and he reported his daughter missing. And he also had the most difficult time. He couldn't believe it. He said, I'm a retired cop and they can't even help me. Now, one of the things that I tell people, the families, and I'm going to back up a little. I hope this may not answer your question, but I had to put it into context before I give an answer. When I went to a major call, like a shooting or a stabbing or something horrible that just happened, and someone's very traumatic, but I need to find information. I need to find out what happened. And we'll say a woman, for instance, she could have blood all over. She could have just saw someone get shot or stabbed, and she's hysterical. What I would do, I would put her in a place, just her and I have someone officer, so they're close by. And I would say to him, hey, you're in a safe place. You're safe. We're here. But I need you to stop crying. And I say, look at my eyes. Stop crying. And then they would look. I said, I need your help. You need to tell me what happened. And they do. They stop crying. They put that emotion to the side and they start answering my questions. Now, after we're all done, I got enough information, then I send it out to my other officers to go start looking or start securing the crime scene. Then I bring that woman here and I said, hey, it's okay to start crying now. And I usually have like a victim's advocate or an officer with them so they could start doing that emotion. I'm not a counselor, but I'm a cop. I'm an investigator. I need to find the answers to help us solve the crime. So that's sort of my mindset where I come from. So when I talk to the families, I'm very direct with them. I say, I need you to get a pen and paper. And sometimes I go, do you got a pen and paper? They go, oh yeah, I got it. Or hey, I don't have one. I said, well, go find one because I'll wait. And they'll go find one. And I tell them just what I told David Robinson. I said, these are the 5 things you need to do. And then the main one, the first one, I actually spent a lot of time on that. I said, you know what? Right now, I promise you, you may or may not have a good experience when you report them missing. But put your emotion to the side because you just need to make sure that report's in and that they're reported into NCIC. All that other stuff, all that anger and saying you didn't do this and that could come down the road. But at the very initial beginning, you need to make sure that he's in the system. He or she's in the system. And so, again, the ones that I work with and tell them the verbiage, what to say and do, all of them. I haven't had one that hasn't. They all have had a positive experience. But they have the knowledge. They have the power to communicate with law enforcement. And knowledge is powerful, guys. And so that's why I think it's important. And I will say this. I know there are some bad cops out there. But I'll tell you, majority are very good. And they really do care. I just actually had I got a call from a small police department up in northern Arizona, non-native. And he calls me up. He goes, hey, I'm here with your cousin. Now, my cousin, she also has addiction. She has mental illness. She's transient. She lives on the street. She's had a horrible life. And I love her. She's my cousin. She's my older cousin. And we've helped her many, many times. But that addiction, she just goes back to it. Well, she reported that she's been being trafficked to this officer. Now, remember, I said she's mentally ill. But the officer took the time to listen. And I thank the officer for taking and listening and documenting my cousin. And that's a personal thing, and that's real. And so there are good cops out there. But yes, the trust is out there. But I know that I can't just answer it in one sound bite because there's all these different dynamics. But at the end of the day, the knowledge is important to get that report, that initial report in the system so other law enforcement agencies could look for them if they come across them. So I don't know if that answered your question. I hope it did.
Sounds good to me. I really appreciate that. We do have another question here from Shauna. Of course, you know Shauna. You met Shauna. She's part of the board as well. The question here she has is it in recent years that NamUs finally put natives in their system? Do you know about how long it took for that to happen?
So NamUs is actually a great organization. When I first started this, I didn't know about NamUs. I actually learned it from one of my evidence techs, and we were talking about different DNA stuff. And she goes, "Oh, have you heard of NamUs?" And I said, "I haven't." And again, remember, I was fighting cancer and all that kind of stuff. I was out for several years. And she told me about this organization. It's a great organization. And what they have done is they have a database that not only law enforcement could make a profile or a file in their system, family members could put them in the system. And so I won't say that Native Americans weren't put in it, because they were. The thing is, though, NamUs is, I don't want to say it's fairly new, but compared to like NCIC, it's fairly new. I think it's maybe been around 10 plus years. But the word to get out, it has to spread. And so I won't fault NamUs for not having that many in there, but it will grow once people learn about it. I think the system is a great system. Just like I said, the more resources that people are looking, it's better. And I know some people that have actually completed or have found people because of NamUs. And so I don't know if that really answers your question, because I don't believe it's NamUs's fault of why it's so few. I think it's more of getting the word out of what NamUs does. And they actually have several what would you call them? Representatives, I'll call them ambassadors, that are actually going out to Indian tribal communities. They go to conferences, they go to events where our Native people and they're getting known. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing one representative out on one of the events you invited us out, the team out as well, too. So I know they keep the little tables there as well for some resources as well. So yes, they're actually growing, and hopefully they can do better and do more. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll mention some other groups real quick. So last year, it wasn't read in my bio, but last year I was the first tribal fellow for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They are also trying to get into our tribal communities. So you have, and the acronym is NCMEC, and they specialize in missing children. They're phenomenal. The resources they have are the best. So you have NCMEC, you have NamUs, you have another organization called Amber Alert in Indian Country. They're also out in force looking, helping our tribal people. You even have something called the Tribal Access Program. That's through the federal government, trying to get other systems involved. And so they're out there, guys. A lot of these organizations, it's just trying to get in. And remember, you have to remember, there's 574 federally recognized tribes. There's hundreds of tribes that are not federally recognized. So there's more tribes. And again, each tribe is different. And I tell people, when you have a program, you can't just let it go to the tribes. And this is how we do it every single time, because there is no cookie cutter approach when you go to each tribe. And so you have to almost personalize it and be more, find out what the needs are of the community, cultural awareness. This is me sort of going on a tangent here, but I tell people, us Native Americans, we make up 1.6% of the US population. That's super small. we're basically a minority of a minority. And I tell my Native people, we basically don't exist, guys. And so we need to also pull down these barriers and welcome new ideas to help us find our missing people. And so it goes both ways. It's not just one way, like, hey, we need to keep doing it. It needs to be reciprocal. It needs to go both ways. And that's one of my things I'm hoping. One of my visions, and I give the small percentage for this very reason. I'm hoping one day that our Native people find other ways to find our missing people, and then we start finding them. And then the non-Native people will come to us.
Right. Yes.
They will ask us, how did you Native people find your missing people? That's my vision. And I'm going to tell the answer will be resources and technology. That's
right.
how.
That's right. Again, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for answering that as well. I have if you have more time for questions, I have another one here from Tea and Wildflowers. Tea and Wildflowers also here all the time, always supporting this channel. Question is, thank you, Tea and Wildflower. What can be done? What could we do to urge law enforcement to designate a case of a criminal investigation when suspicious circumstances exist, yet law enforcement thinks it's just a missing person?
So this is the thing. Not only does the public need to be have awareness, law enforcement also has to have the awareness, meaning they have to be trained. Now, this is the thing. I know we see in the media a lot of cops doing horrible things, silly things, not thinking things. How you bring that percentage down of bad things done by police officers is continual and updated training. If an officer is not updated and trained, they're going to rely on what they learned 5, 10, 15 years ago, which is out of date. And so one of the things, there's a lot of organizations that really focusing on anti-human sex trafficking. When an officer learns and is trained of what it is and what are the signs, they start taking it seriously. Because the MMIW movement is getting bigger, they have all these federal state task forces, including law enforcement, saying, hey, when a Native American goes missing, you better take it more serious. Otherwise, we're going to start finding accountability. So to answer your question is, it has to do with law enforcement being trained and updated on what's going on currently, because crime is continually changing. The crime's still there. It's just different players. And so when it comes to missing persons, you always hear that adage where the first 24, 48, 72 hours is vital. That's true.
That's right. Yes.
And when you report someone missing to law enforcement, you have to show the urgency. I'll give you an example. That lady that her brother was missing for 2 weeks. This little part where she said, Mr. Pooley, every day at 11 o'clock, my brother uses my parents' microwave and he's out coming for 2 weeks. So you show the pattern, his lifestyle pattern has changed. Something disrupted it. That's one of the things that caught that young guy. He was a brand new officer. Once he heard, hey, this man, even though he has an addiction problem, his lifestyle changed instantly. Something disrupted it. And so he took it more serious. If someone is diabetic, if someone has Alzheimer's, dementia, anything where they need medicine immediately, or they will most likely have a medical issue that has to be known to law enforcement. You have to personalize and humanize the person that you're reporting missing. And do not minimize anything. And that's where the officers, they take information in. And there are certain words or phrases, when they hear it, it starts adding up like, oh my gosh, there's another one. There's a red flag, You have to draw that picture for them. And so that's why I tell you have to give as much information. Don't be embarrassed of the habits of your loved one. And so that's my thing. It has to do with education on both sides, law enforcement and the community, And again, communication is key. And if you don't have that relationship between the two, it's going to stay status quo. It's going to be the same.
And yeah, one thing I want to throw in too, Mr. Pooley. When I met you, you were talking about victim. I can't get the word right. I know
Oh
you
yeah,
can.
victimology. Yeah, yeah.
There you go, victimology. And can you
So
explain that a little bit? Because that's one
yeah,
thing that I really, when you told me that, and I think that kind of goes around to what you were saying. You know the patterns, and you know the way that person think and things like that. But
correct.
you had to build a profile. I think the way you're putting it about that person.
Absolutely. So thank you. This is a good point. When I did homicide, even some robberies, like I did like home invasion, street jumps, anything violent. That's what I investigate. Any violent crimes. Whenever you have a victim, a proper investigation always does a victimology. You always do. And what does that mean? Victimology is you go and you look, hey, where did this victim live in the past 3, 5, 10 years? Who did they live with? What was their job? What was their vices? What was their happiness, their sadness, their family members? You just have to get a whole profile of who this person is. For example, I had a woman, it was a domestic violence murder, homicide. And when I did a victimology, we knew the perpetrator, and I pulled all these police reports, not just from our agency, but even back east. And I realized how many reports were actually reported to law enforcement over a period of time. And then you got to know the victim, and then you saw this perpetrator somehow insert himself into the life of this woman and just exploited all her weaknesses. That was eye-opening. And so that's why it's very important. And I could go more into this, but all I'm saying is your missing person is a victim now. That's and right. You have to give the officer or detective should do the victimology of that person. That way they could see who has had interaction with them and who hasn't.
And I think
that's
that
very
takes a lot of
important.
honesty. That'll take a lot of honesty as well.
Oh man,
You have to put everything out there for that officer to do a better job. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And a good detective that's in the file.
Right.
That's for the investigator. And I know a lot of our families, they get frustrated. They says, well, the detective's not sharing anything. And let me tell you, they better not until it's resolved. And that's hard for sometimes the families to hear that. A good investigator will keep it. Now, as a family member, you could still keep saying, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do this? Keep doing that. I tell people, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you don't say anything, it won't get done.
That's right.
And so, yeah.
And you said the squeaky wheel get the oil. I hear that a lot too. But just doing my own investigation into my son, there's some things I learned about my son, of course, that I know a whole lot more. Like you said, the ins and out was in his home, for instance, his home, how he lived, and the things that he done. I have access to his phone, so there's a lot of things that you learn about your person. I think detectives will learn those things as well. And those things go into a file just like they're into my file. That's not public knowledge. They're just my knowledge. Some things that I have to keep to myself. But yes, I want to also get this last question here. Well, not last question, but the next question here, Mr. Pooley. And this is from PM Channel again. But I think this is directed to both of us. Thank you again, PM Channel, for your question. Mr. Pooley, Dave Robinson has been. Oh, okay. Mr. Pooley, Dave Robinson has been the blueprint in what to do. When a loved one is missing. I have learned so much. What is your greatest satisfaction in using your knowledge resources?
I want to reiterate, David, you are a blueprint. You are what should be done. One of the things that I have found, I guess, that satisfaction in this journey is meeting the people along the way. They're amazing. This is a group that you don't want to be a part of. But at the same time, it's a very special group. And so I guess the satisfaction is bringing a resolution to the families. And, this is the thing is and I don't know if this is the right verbiage, but when you get in this work, it's a very toxic environment, and it's not good for your health. It really isn't. Like I said, I still have cancer and stuff like that, and sometimes I have to really sometimes slow down, but I can't because there's families counting on me.
That's
And
right.
so I guess the satisfaction is knowing that I'm helping people. And will I be able to solve every case? The answer is no. Will I be able to help every single person? The answer is no. But the ones I do help, it's amazing. I love it. So, but yes.
Yes, thank you so much for that, and I really appreciate that question. That's thank you, PM Channel, for that question as well. To elaborate a little bit more too on that for myself, and I really appreciate the comment that you have put there as me being a blueprint, because one thing I can say, and I say this a lot to Mr. Pooley, what you was speaking of before. I couldn't settle myself in my mind. Each family is different. One thing you put out there, I want to say that really quick. Family grieve differently. Only thing I can say from my perspective as a father, I decided to leave my home in South Carolina and go out to Arizona to find my son. That's just, I'm a proactive person. I had to be on the ground and have to be engaged in my children's life. And I want to make sure that they're okay and do my part. One thing though is that I did recognize quickly, just like you were saying, you're putting out there a lot of misconception with family members thinking that you can stay at home. Because I did have family members tell me that, hey, God is going to bring Daniel back. I go pretty much put him in my lap. He's just gonna come back. No, you have to go out there and do something. It's called faith. My faith is action related. So one thing is I did learn really quickly with law enforcement, like you said, whether I didn't notice or not, because in my purview, it was just that they weren't doing anything. So I don't know. But the biggest part for me is that I couldn't just at the same time sit down and do nothing. So I won't be able to be the person that back in South Carolina and calling every day and say, hey, so-and-so, officer, detective, y'all out there searching for my son, what have you found? That type of stuff. I had to be out there pretty much side by side with law enforcement, not against law enforcement, side by side. I'd rather be working with law enforcement and go do this job, because I need those resources they have, as well as my activity to really fight, and really my drive, because my drive would, hey, kind of push law enforcement along. Law enforcement can use their resources to help. And so definitely not going to be one of those people that just sit back and just say, hey, look, have you found my loved one? Because my mind, this is my vision. I'm calling for South Carolina, and I say, hey, officer or detective, have you been out searching for my son? What you found? He said, he's laying back with his foot on the desk, say, I'm out here now searching for him. I don't know that. So my mind is believe what I hear on the phone. I have to be action person and be out there actively doing the job myself. So I just wanted to say that part there, and kind of go back to the blueprint part of things that she was asking.
Awesome.
All right, and then I'll see if I have any more questions here. I have a lot of comments. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for putting the comments up, and from Mr. Pooley, I see a lot. I'm going to share a lot of those on the back end of everything, but I don't see any more questions here. But I just want to tell you thank you, first of all, Mr. Pooley, on my behalf, and also for speaking for everybody who also support this channel. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing so much knowledge and sharing so much of your passion. I see some of the comments saying that as well. You can see your passionate officer that you were, saying from your experience in law enforcement, and as well as it's helping other people, helping your people. And all of us need to do that. All of us need to be engaged with the community. Like you said, you spoke to the community. Hey, it's because of you guys, saying you're doing things. Like, for instance, I tell them all the time, hey, they're supporting what I'm doing here. That boosts me to keep going. So also the activeness of the community helps as well, with organizations like yourself, with people who's looking for their loved one, even with law enforcement, saying. So I think when people in the community are engaged, that also helps along a big picture.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David. It's been an honor to be on your show. I think it's very exciting that you do this, how you do it, and thank you. And again, for the viewers out there, if you need any more information, please reach out to us, and we'll come in and talk with you guys. Thank you.
And I really appreciate it again. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being very kind. This is Mr. Pooley again. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, Native Search Solutions. And if you guys want to go and check them out, please support. Please support any way you can. I'm sure you can use some of those donations as well. You guys have been helping me as well with the foundation. We're coming up with also the Dan Robinson Foundation. I wanted to mention that too, Mr. Pooley. You know about that as well. And just the whole works of just trying to help the community. So if you can help Mr. Pooley out, as well as get some information about his organization, just visit his website there, Native Search Solutions, and that's the website information that's scroll on the bottom. You guys, thank you so much. I think I'll make sure I don't have any more questions, Mr. Pooley, before you take off, but I don't see anything. But so thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
I really appreciate
right,
it. I'll call you back on the back end.
All right. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you everybody for joining in on this Q&A. David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. I did have one question I've seen here. If you guys have any more questions, don't forget to utilize the capital letter Q, the word question or question mark. As I'm coming down, I can see them. Also, I wanted to share some of the comments as well. But thank you so much, Carla. And you say David here. Thank you for being here off the Facebook side. Do you have any theories of what happened to your son? Yes, I have a lot of theories. I have a lot of, some things that I have collected since I've been doing investigation into my son's disappearance. And so my theories, first of all, is based on my understanding of my son. I think Mr. Pooley is putting up the victimology, the patterns of Daniel. One thing I wanted to say when Mr. Pooley was on just a while ago is that Daniel had some things on his cell phone. Of course, I have access to that. And one thing I haven't heard law enforcement, and, a lot of times I'd be wanting law enforcement to catch up with me. Maybe I'm doing a better job because sometimes some things I do know that I shared a lot with law enforcement. There's some things I haven't just yet because I'm waiting to see if they catching up, and they seem like they have not caught up yet. But some of those things is like he's saying victimology. I didn't have the word for it at the time. But those are some of the things I was based on, my theories and my ideas about what happened to Daniel. Daniel have a pattern. I thought it was the wonderful thing when I first got his cell phone and just have it on and I could hear those certain alarms. He had an alarm for everything. He had an alarm to wake up. He had an alarm for his coffee. He had an alarm. So he had a pattern, and he does this pattern every day. And just like Mr. Pooley said, it instantly stopped in one day. Everything just instantly stopped in one day, whether it's his apps, his movements. Everything stopped on the 22nd of June, 2021. Everything else been wiped out from that point. It's almost life been wiped out. He been wiped out, and everything else that goes along with that. So those are problematic for me. It's impossible for law enforcement not to see that as a possible criminal case without the evidence, the hard evidence that we have, the planning of the vehicle, so on, the red transfer, all that information that we gave them tangibly. They still refusing to look at this case any differently than a criminal, foul play. So my theory is foul play. To answer your question, Carla, my theory is foul play. My theory is that is based on the information I have. I don't believe the story from day one, from the story from the guy at the well site, but I can say that that's my beliefs on that. But the hard evidence of the vehicles where everything really starts for me is the vehicles planted there. My investigator showed proof of that. He showed the damage didn't match the terrain, So the vehicles there, I think something happened elsewhere. Whether it's in that desert, whether it's near the well site, whether it's somewhere, but that vehicle was definitely planted there. And also the clothing and stuff like that was there on the ground. That's not problematic with Daniels. So I just have some theories because my son is a person that would definitely let us know if he goes missing. That's a pattern. That's a pattern for Daniel. He even went to, like I said, you guys, when he was in college and he wanted to go to Puerto Rico, he didn't just take off and go to Puerto Rico. He had his friends. His friends, I'm sure, could have helped him get there, but he didn't just take off without telling somebody, whether it been his friends or whoever. But he did contact his mother and myself. And so when he went to California to surprise his sister halfway in the trip, hey, I'm on the way to visit, whatever the case may be. So that type of stuff. Somebody know what his movements are, and for his movements and nobody know, just to stop with the one word of kin. that was at the well site. That is very out of character for Daniel, very out of ordinary. That just won't happen. Daniel, first of all, I really believe that if he didn't want to be to work that day, for instance, he wouldn't have came at all. He wouldn't have came at all. One well site and then come to a second well site. What was significant about the well site, the second well site, he decided, hey, I'm just going to hop in my vehicle and drive off and go back. It's two stories. The guy said that he said, Ken said that Daniel said he was tired. He was tired and he wanted to go home. What would make him want to, when he get to that T-junction, to make him say, hey, I want to go farther out into the desert when he wanted to go home and get some rest? He wanted to go back to Phoenix, that he was saying. He could turn left. And the confusion I hear that a lot of people talk about on their podcasts and things like that, it doesn't match terrain. A person can make a story, can listen to the story, they can follow the map. Unless you've been out there in the desert, you won't understand the terrain. For you get to that T-junction, for instance, for you go west, Daniel would not have gotten lost. They got confused. Say, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to the main road where I came from, and I end up going farther in the desert. It don't work that way, you guys. When we make that right turn, go west, like they say, it's not really going west. It's more going westerly, going southwest, because you go kind of west, but then the road kind of curves. The dirt road goes to the south, and you literally come to a wooden gate. You come to a wooden gate, and you have to get out your vehicle and open this wooden gate to get to the south side of that desert. It's not really going out west. It's really going south. So those only people know that, people who came out to the searches, they would know that that's not. So I'm saying if Daniel wouldn't have gotten confused about his direction, because he came into a chain link fence versus a wooden fence, you know what I'm saying, and getting out his vehicle to open it up. The chain link fence is already open. So coming from the main road. And so if he don't see a main road once he opened the gate, the main road is right there, he would have known he'd be going the wrong direction. So those things are not plausible to me. The whole story is not plausible to me. It's raining, and then now hearing about light rain, it was raining and washed away these tracks, but except for Daniels, and he was able to see fresh tracks based on, even though he claimed that all the other tracks been washed away with rain. Now, things just don't make sense. So yeah, I have my theories of foul play to answer that question. So thank you so much, and thank you, Sean, for putting this up. Thank you, Mr. Pooley, for what you have done, and what you continue to do. I've learned so much from you, and we'll be talking to Mr. Pooley again. As you guys may not know, with the Daniel Robinson Foundation, also Mr. Pooley was being a part of that as well, and we definitely would love to be working with him in his organization as well. So I have a question here. I don't know if it's directed to Mr. Pooley, but was anyone else at the first well site? Oh, thank you so much. First of all, Kathy. Was anyone else at the first well site? And if so, can they confirm what Daniel was wearing that morning in comparison to the clothing at the stage crash scene? And what I was told by his job, that Daniel was the only one at that first well site. He went there and got some copies of the logs and things like that, and then he was supposedly out of there. And that's a good question, because I only can go by what the job say, whether somebody else is there. But I can tell you there was a spotting of Daniel's vehicle by a person who took that picture. You guys, that Buckeyes trying to deny somebody it's not Daniel's vehicle, but it looked like it to me. Is very blurry. But they trying to determine that's not his just by looking at a tire on the vehicle. So they don't match the tire on his vehicle, but they didn't even have a picture of Daniel's vehicle yet to compare it against. But they made a determination it's not his, which I tried to get them to go look, but that vehicle just magically disappeared from the area and ended up in the desert 2 days later. But that's how I look at the theory on that. But like I said, that area from that first well site, one witness to that well site is that vehicle sitting on the side of the road is because where that vehicle was found, with that person took that picture, you literally have to pass that spot to get to that well site, and you have to pass that spot to get back out of that well site. There's nowhere else around, in the other side roads, no other way. So it's consistent with whatever happened on June the 23rd. It could have happened in the area, and like I said, with the vehicle being dumped in the desert out there, it was purposely put out there from that point. So that's the way I look at it. That's my theory when it comes to that. But yes, it was no confirmation of anybody else at the well site, according to his job. Nobody else but Daniel at the first well site. Second well site, he met Ken Elliott out there, and they were the two alone. All right. All right. So thank you. We say thank you for your answer. Thank you so much, Carla, again. Thank you for your answers. We just have to keep fighting and keep his story in the public's eye. And thank you so much. And I refuse. I meant to say this when Mr. Pooley was here. I refuse to let Daniel's case go cold. His case is not a cold case. There's so much information out there that law enforcement have to catch up. That's what I'm saying. They catch up. A lot of things I have given them already. They haven't worked on. You guys know about the stuff in the well site that Daniel was last seen at. Things that look like appear to be a human skull at the bottom of the well. So that type stuff. I can't even get FBI to look into. I can't get anybody to look into, no matter how much I put it in the public, no matter how much. I don't have the resources and I don't have the authority to go on somebody's private well and resume those things that's in that well, for instance. That's law enforcement's job, but they're refusing to do that job. And so that would help me find my son. So like Mr. Pooley said, we need to be working together. Myself and law enforcement working together. I'm not going nowhere. Law enforcement hang that up. I'm not one of those people that will sit down so they can work with me or work against me. So I'll be working. They can work with me or get out of my way. I put that way too as well. All right. Thank you so much for that, Carla. Also, Deborah, even though you guys don't have the word question there, you have a question. I'm about to jump off in about 15 minutes, but if you have a question, if you have a question, add the word question to your question first, and then or the question mark or a capital letter Q before your question. That way I can find it as I'm coming down. But since I'm close to the bottom here, it's easier to see some of these questions. But thank you, Deborah, for your question. On the Facebook side, is it true you see part of a human skull in the well? Yes, that's very much true, but I can't get law enforcement to act upon it. And that's what I was just saying, you guys. It's really difficult to have that knowledge, have the video, to get a company to go in and do what Buckeye haven't done. Buckeye literally, you guys, I had to force them to go check that well. First of all, they didn't check the well that originally we thought was where Daniel was last seen, but the one north of that, which I did my investigation, that is actually the well site he was last seen. They checked that well for me off on a weekday. I met Buckeye out there in the desert, and they brought some people from Maricopa Posse or whatever, Maricopa County Posse guys with some kind of makeshift camera that they had out there. And they have, like I said, the equipment they used wasn't something that was really usable for trying to search for something like that. So it wasn't even usable because the camera they used wasn't able to put submerge underwater. As I didn't know at the time, but it didn't make sense to me. But I didn't know at the time that well was almost close to 1,000 feet deep. You guys, I didn't know that at the time, but I know that just from my investigation and using common sense, I knew that the Buckeye Police Department was just giving me what I call a photo op. Say photo op. Hey, I got this white cadaver dog that don't look like a cadaver dog out here searching. I also got this camera that we're putting into with this makeshift camera with this Maricopa County Posse guys that can't be submerged into water. And what they did is they went down to that well that you guys remember. I can show the video on the next Q&A this evening. But that well goes down to about 160 something feet, I think, before it hit the water, right? So they went down to that level, and the camera barely touched the water. They had a fit. They guys uptight because they thought the camera got damaged. It barely touched the water. They pull it back out and say, "Oh, ain't nothing to see here, Mr. Robin. Your son ain't in this well, right?" You guys know that we watch television all the time. We see somebody go missing in the lake. They go drown in the lake somewhere. They have scuba divers. They don't ride boats on top of the water that day looking for a person that may have drowned and died, right? They actually use scuba divers and go in, right? On time they skim the waters some many days later if a body float or something, but they definitely go looking in the water. They don't look at the surface of water and ride on the boat or stand on the shore and look and say, well, this person ain't here. We go look somewhere else. No. And that's exactly what the Buckeye Police Department did that day. I was really uptight. I didn't say it on this Q&A. I just tried to say, oh, thank you, Buckeye, for coming out to do blah, blah. Really, I was upset. And I didn't want to seem like I was bashing the cops, and because I'm not anti-police. I'm pro-police, but I'm anti-bad policing like they did that day. So I was able to get a company to come in myself, make a deal with the owners of the well, and to we searched that well the right way, the correct way. Went 1,000 feet down in that well, in the water, through the water, and we found that what appears to be a human skull, along as other evidence of somebody dump whatever that is. It may be a human skull or whatever that is in the bottom. Dumped it with something heavy stuff, and you guys seen the level of things as you come from the bottom up. You can see the process of what they were doing. Tons of sand down in that well that don't belong there to cover something up as well. You got the pile of sand on the outside of the well that the sand came from. Why they dump all that stuff in there to cover up? So can't get law enforcement to do the job, but I did. I did my job. I just don't have the authority to have or the resources or money to have that well resumed. So thanks so much for your question. And yes, there's partial skull in there. Question here from Carla. Did police try to collect any video surveillance from his home? No. And surrounding areas from the day he went missing? No. Gas station, they claim they got some video footage at first, but now they chunk it down to really blurry camera footage of pictures. Pictures, that is, when I say camera footage of a vehicle that appeared to be Daniel's vehicle at a gas pump, right? But the ironically to that is, yes, it's a vehicle that looks shaped just like his. Like how they can manage to say that's Daniel's vehicle, but it's a really blurry picture, but then try to deny it when I mentioned the one that was on the side of the road that was really blurry as well. But the only problem with that picture that they gave me at this gas pump, and it is a charge on Daniel's bank statement for a couple of dollars. There's a little couple of dollars now. He got an SUV, you guys, and at his gas pump. But he is on the side of the vehicle. The vehicle's on the side of the pump where the gas tank is not located. So that's a problem. That's a problem. So that's the thing is what he was using a gas can. All his gas cans are accounted for in his apartment. So everything just didn't add up with that. So anyway, gas stations or anything in the way of the job site, Buckeye Police Department magically claim they can't get that stuff. I've been even cynical. At first I asked them, I said, hey, y'all having a video footage of him going to the well site, the first and the second well site, because we already know, you guys run a light, you get a ticket in the mail, they'll put it in court. So you cannot tell me these cameras don't exist. First of all, somebody rob a bank today, they can track that person right back to their house, with these cameras. But magically, the Buckeye Police Department said they can't get no footage. They have no footage of Daniel. I said, well, damn. Well, let's get footage of him ever. Being cynical. Did he ever any picture any time? I don't care if it was a year ago or any picture from the time he been in Arizona from South Carolina of him driving anywhere. They can't come up with none. Oh, we can't come up with none. We don't have any. They don't come up. So all of this to me is weird to me that everything we ask for, whether it's camera footage, whether it's cell phone pings, anything that can locate Daniel, where he been and what happened, the Buckeye Police Department claim they can't get. They don't want to get. They can't get a warrant if they apply for it. All this kind of stuff they told us as a family. First early on. So no, we don't have anything from that. To answer your question on that. All right, and let's see who else I got here. I'm about to run out of time, you guys, so I'm trying to grab some of these questions. So if you do have a question, please use the question mark, the capital letter Q, or the word question before your question. I can see it as I'm coming down. I don't want to miss your question, but I'm going to be moving kind of fast here. Okay, I have one from East Sands. Thank you, East Sands, for utilizing the question mark. Is the White Tank Mountains Park on the agenda to search? We have, and the White Tank Mountain Park, my auntie on early on. I'm gonna tell you guys something about that too. Early on when Daniel first went missing, of course, that's one of the places that we looked into. My auntie, she really did some research. My auntie in Philly, she did some research, and she found this the White Tank Mountain Park area and things like that. And the first thing she did is reach out to those folks. The place was actually closed because of something I think had something to do with COVID, but not really. I think it had some kind of fire going on. Something was going on where they had the park closed. But the thing is, that day, my aunt did contact them. Here it is. This is no knowledge to the public yet. This is literally the only person that knew that that claimed that Daniel did went to the T Johnson and made the wrong turn was Ken Elliott. He's the only guy that knew, because at the time I was just getting that information from the police officer, Mr. Cruz, Officer Cruz at the time. He was questioning Ken, right? and he had literally just get ready to give us the information. I mean, this within hours, right? Probably about 2-3 hours within Daniel, me reporting Daniel missing, finally getting that report in. And so she reached out to this place, like the White Tank Mountain Park and area, and the guy who's, I guess, at the substation, whatever, that night guy, whatever, I can't remember his name. We have all that stuff down. This guy says, hey, she's asking about, hey, have you seen a young man, blah blah blah. So we look, he said, oh, the young man, you're talking about the guy that made the wrong turn. How would he know that? How would he? Those are the information that wasn't even put out yet. How would he know that? He literally used that phrase, and we thought about it. She told me about it. She said, hey, that's strange. This guy was saying Daniel made a wrong turn, and that's not even law enforcement didn't know this knowledge yet. So all of this is kind of one of those things. But yes, there have been search as well, been checked into. I say like that. Not, I didn't have no public search there, but it's been checked into. East Sands. Also, T and Wildflower have a question here. Thanks for your question, T and Wildflower. Will Daniel's employer help with the search on February 25th? I doubt it. I don't know. They came out in the past when I first started my search. They never started searches on their own, but they came out in the past. They've been helping like things like directing people at the gate for me. I really appreciate that. And they have also been doing small searches. But when I say people, employees, I don't know. Like, again, I don't know if it's direct. I don't think it was Matrix New World saying, hey, I need y'all to go out to help Mr. Robinson and search. I think it's just some employees from his job took it upon themselves to come out and help during the time. But they quickly start falling off after a couple of weeks of searching. Also, let's see here. East Sands had a question again. Are you able to search the well site again? Yeah, well, I think I still can access that. Probably not with the search team because they're doing a lot of groundbreaking out there. They tearing everything up and getting these big irrigation lines in the dirt and burying those and all this kind of stuff going on right now. So it's going to be kind of difficult to assess that with a large group. I can see something small. I'll be utilizing razors and things like that, so I probably can assess it that way. But when it comes to having the search that's coming up, people going there, no, it'll be very difficult, probably impossible, not even wise to try to do so. But yes, we still can get there as far as I can tell now. But I will be doing some more recon out there in that area before the search to make sure everything's still a go. Kathy Bostic, thanks so much for your question. What is the width of the well? I'm not willing to put that out right now, but thanks so much for that question. I'm sorry I can't answer that question right there for you, but I will not be able to put that out right now. Also, Shauna, thanks so much for putting that information out. Public search February 25th. Share and sign up for the Eventbrite. This is a link, you guys, those who are not on YouTube. You can go to policehelpfinddane.com, hit the events tab, or you can hit the volunteer to search tab. And either way, they'll take you to Eventbrite, which you have here. And I ask you guys to please sign up for the search again, because I have some agreement with El Dorado Holding, the people out there, Howard Hughes Corporation, too, be able to come out and search on 25th, but they limit me down to one search and also wanted me to give a certain head count, pretty close head count of people who will be out there on that day. Now, I can't say I did get a report of Sophia, she here, I'm not sure, but or anybody here. I think I had like 170 some people already signed up, which I'm getting very close to that 200 mark. You guys can keep trying to share that out to many people, see who all can still come. I need at least a minimum of 200 people. I really appreciate you guys for showing up in the search on the 25th. Very important. I need to get this ground covered, and the only way to do that is to be able to, have the numbers there. So anything over 200, I'm grateful for that, because that can give me even some of the areas that I don't have the time to do, because, like I said, they give me this one day, one search, and I want to be able to utilize this search right here to do much as I can and try to cover the last little final areas of that desert. And if people say, hey, your theories is that the vehicle, based on evidence, the vehicle was planted there and all that. Somebody brought the vehicle there because they want the crime scene to be put there, right, in that desert. Because I was out there already searching for him, because our search was based on Ken Elliott's story. And so I was already out there, but the same people or persons could have easily did something else out there, God forbid, and I had to go out there and search this area just because of that. The 11 additional miles, this, that, blah, 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 so on, so on, so on. So, but anyway, thank you guys. I don't see any more questions. I want to thank again Mr. Pooley for showing up here on the Q&A, sharing his expertise and information about Native Americans. And you guys, you see the information down there. Could please visit his website and learn more about what he does. And just keep in mind, there's a lot of Native Americans out there that's missing, especially the women and children. And they go unreported as well. So we have a real problem with things being underreported. It depends on who you are, and sometimes your status. And it's sad that the world is that way. We need to do better. So that's one thing the Daniel Robinson Foundation will be doing as well. If you guys look at the Daniel Robinson Foundation logo, it says Daniel Robinson Foundation, and underneath the subtitle is Bridging That Gap. And that's what Daniel Robinson Foundation will be doing, is bridging the gap. Saying making the playing field, put the playing field even, and try to get resources and stuff to families that are hurt and in need. So, and definitely, please support with his cause and support as well what he's doing for his people, the Native Americans. I like to say the indigenous people, because they're here first, and Native Americans, and just make sure that we're supporting them as well. He said 1% of the population of the United States is very hard, but you know what? You can look at the military. I joined the military when people did not join, knowing that you put myself in harm's way. It's a choice, but we're like 1%, I think, of the population, somewhere around there, of people who actually join the military. So it's a small population and of people. And so when I say that, I'm not putting comparisons with the Native Americans. What I'm saying is that just because you're a small number don't mean that you're not powerful. There's powerful people as well, and they are people. Just like we take pride into our military, we need to take pride into that community as well. So, and thank you guys so much. I don't see any more questions, I don't think. Let's see. Oh, I think I hear one person here. Can you please share more information about the protest? What are we protesting, goals, and the start? Well, one thing is the protest is on the 18th, you guys, of this month. And right now I have a phone call to make once I get off this Q&A. I'm talking with Maricopa County now. I'll be reaching out to them. I meant to get back to them yesterday, but I'm reaching out to them today. Hopefully I don't have to have the protest, you guys. Protest is based on what I need from Maricopa County. My son went missing in Maricopa County. We talk about Buckeye, Arizona. We see what Buckeye, Arizona did to my son's case. Just shredded his case, damaged it. Say they damaged the chain of custody, to not doing the forensics they should have done, not really looking into. They didn't discover the website. They didn't discover anything that you guys see that knowledge of, public knowledge, whether it's 11 additional miles to the 46 initial cycles to red transfer paint. That didn't come from all that stuff. Even if they put it on their police report, that didn't come from Buckeye. They didn't do the work. That came from myself and also my investigator. We shared those informations with the law enforcement, who was able to try to take credit for those things. They had damaged my son. Okay, they initially started off saying, "Hey, he's a grown man. If you want to disappear," this assumption alone caused my son to be missing for almost 2 years now. Because if they would have acted fast, like Mr. Pooley was saying here, the first 24 to 48 hours is crucial. I say the first 12 hours is crucial to finding a loved one. You got to be on it, man. You got to be on it really quick. You got to take. I say law enforcement should take and think the worst first and work yourself backwards. You don't think the best. Oh, they just disappear when they only want to. That causes people to be missing for 12, 20, 15 years, whatever. That's not law enforcement job to make a judgment call like that. Make an assumption call to somebody they don't know. The first person they need to rely on, not coworkers from a job. Oh, he's acting a little strange. No, you need to ask the family. Excuse me. And so, what I'm saying, we're protesting the fact that my son also went missing in Maricopa County, and we see the damage that the Buckeye have done. They refuse to get the FBI into my son's case, regardless of all the things that suggest that the foul play to look into my son's disappearing father. The Maricopa County is resistant to doing what they can do. They have a jurisdictional responsibility. Is in Maricopa, Buckeyes in Maricopa County. Tempe is in Maricopa County. Phoenix is in Maricopa County. Goodyear is in Maricopa County, and so on and so on in some of these other cities, right? and my son went missing in Maricopa County. Maricopa County, you guys know the sheriff office is have jurisdiction over the Buckeye Police Department. They have over Phoenix. They have over Tempe. Sheriff of Zone can take my son's case and do the right thing. He had the facility, he had the lab, a new lab at that, you guys, as you guys need to look that up as well. He had just been blessed with a nice lab to be able to process forensics. And here I am holding forensics, trying to house forensics, and Maricopa County having to over a year now, haven't had taken on to those things and process those things. Buckeye don't have a lab. Maricopa County do. They have all the resources and everything I need to help me find my son. And if there was some resistance there, Sheriff Zone, from what we heard from the Tempe, was like, hey, look, he's not taking my son's his forensics on this thing, when he gave me some indication that he probably would. And what I'm saying is, one thing I heard from the sheriff is, hey, look, I don't want to look like the big sheriff coming in and taking over a case. Now, I don't care about appearance. And that was a political move for him, but my son is not political. He's a human being, and he need to be found. And they have the tools, they have the expertise, he have the jurisdictional power. We see what Buckeye have done, and he needs to take on to Daniel's case. He needs to take the case and find my son. Do all the resources, all the swelling stuff about, we got the resource of the search, and they should have been doing that on day one. They should have, the searches that I think that they coming up with, you guys. I did let you guys know that Maricopa County will be doing a search before my search, and that's only based on my protest. And that's an important of the protest. I'm sure he got wind of the protest in front of their department, at their department. And because of this, and now they're trying to show, I guess, some public action and for their sake. But I still need them there on the 25th. Whether they off duty or not, they need to send some officers out there to support. But the thing is, I'm saying is, that's what the protesting is for, SW 4x4 Explorers, is to push justice for my son. Because it shouldn't take me to be doing this for over a year to try to force an agency that can and have the jurisdiction, the power to do so, to take my son's case when they see something wrong with the way another department has handled my son's case. They see it. Like I told you guys before, there's no such thing as a good cop. Maricopa County can say they're a good agency if they can see something wrong and don't do something about it. Like I said, I guarantee you guys, any one of y'all, regular person like me and yourself, riding down the street, especially me, a person of color, riding down the street, and one of my friends come pick me up from my house, riding down the street, don't know he got a trunk smack full of cocaine or something. I don't know, some fentanyl pills or whatever the case may be. He got something in his trunk that I don't know about. He just a friend I've known for a while. Think he's a good guy. And the cop pulls us over for a traffic stop. They go check the trunk and see this bit smack full. I'm shocked. The guy not, of course, is his. I'm shocked and say, it ain't mine. And I'll be in jail for 20 years still saying it's not mine. Well, you're associated with them, you're being with them. You didn't do anything about it, whatever the case may be. Or if I knew and I didn't do anything about it, same difference. So I'm saying is, for law enforcement to know that somebody did messed up and they're not doing anything about it, they make them a bad cop too. You know what I'm saying? So it goes with association. So I'm just asking you guys to join me in this protest if needed, to fight for Daniel's justice. It shouldn't have taken over a year to get this justice. There shouldn't take this over a year to get them to move on to taking my son's case. And that's the only outlet I have, you guys, for right now. I can't get the FBI. I can't get the Justice Department. I reach out to all these people. So I have to rely on pushing towards Maricopa County. That's the only, going through Tempe, trying to force Tempe to do something as well. I guess you guys know I have over a year convinced Tempe to do the electronics, friends on electronics alone, just the electronics for me. But I can't get them to move and taking the case. They can't just take a case from, they'll try to go back and forth, this big battle, taking the case from Buckeye or, whatever the case may be. So Maricopa can. They have that power. They have that power to do so. So that's where I'm going. And for far as it stands right now, Maricopa County is very resistant to that. So we need some protesting. We need some convincing of the department. I need the backing of the people to make them move forward. So that's what I'm doing right now, you guys. In the background, like I said, I will be contacting him as soon as I get off this Q&A, and hopefully we can go forward and won't be useful. The protest won't be useful, and we can get some things going on that behalf. So, all right, thank you so much for that question, SW. I know I've had it longer, and I need to get off because I see it's 2 minutes, but I see another question. I'm trying to get off your team. I know team is raging right now. Did you ever gain access to Daniel's Facebook account? Yes. Well, but I won't say we got access to it, but yes, we have control over it. All right. So I don't personally. It'll be more of my family. But thank you so much, you guys, for joining in. Thank you, Mr. Pooley, again. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Please come back this evening. Q&A, I will be back here this evening as well for Q&A prime time. I hope to see you guys then. Again, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your love, and I appreciate your constant support. If you guys have any information to help me bring my son home, please utilize the tip line that you see on the bottom of the screen. Again, it's time to speak out. All right, take care, you guys. I'll see y'all this evening on Q&A prime time.